have I used this streaming service in like the last 3 months? Is it worth me paying, $6 to $12 for it? If I buy this in bulk, am I going to use it at Sam's? What am I doing so I am paying my bills? And then what do I have left over?
Yeah, that's great advice.
Hey, this is Shay.
And this is Carrie,
Welcome to the Pocket Change Podcast.
where you'll learn better ways to spend, save, and invest and take control of your financial journey. So, Shay, today we've got one of our very own who's going to share with us his outlook on financial saving tips and just, things that we should do to start off when you're young,
Yeah, he's a younger guy, and so, he's had some experience, and now he works in financial services. So just being able to share those tips with others who are listening, whether it's parents or even teenagers or young adults, being able to help them establish themselves early on their financial journey is important.
So we're excited to welcome our guest, Riley Deakins. He's one of our financial champions here at Leaders. Welcome to Pocket Change.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so before we get started on all of the things about money, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up working in the financial services here at Leaders.
Yeah. So grew up in West Tennessee, so this has always really been home for me. But, grew up in Jackson primarily. We moved to Gibson County, later on, and that's where I ended up graduating high school from. College background, I thought I was going to go into education. Ended up going to a smaller private Christian university called Mississippi College down in central Mississippi. And didn't know I needed to stretch my legs until I did it, but was definitely beneficial for me just to kind of move away and come back. It's definitely done a lot for me in appreciating where I'm from because down there is great and awesome. I've also lived in the Memphis area, and they are all, their own individual kind of archetypes of cities, but there's just something sweet about the size of Jackson and the people here and kind of the pace of life. So that's definitely been beneficial. But when I was down there, I ended up studying in communications with a concentration in public relations. And, you would think working in financial services, I don't use that every single day, but I do. So definitely, outside in, if I'd, done business or done something else, I thought I was going to be a crisis manager with my degree. So going into working here and just the different things I see on a daily basis. Not everything we see is perfect. So definitely having that kind of problem-solving background, that relational background, and how to, connect with people. There's a lot of times where I'm dealing with somebody and it's difficult, but I never want them to walk out of my office and think, oh, I can't come back to him.
Right.
So I definitely think that my education in communications and in public relations has really helped with that. So definitely that's just kind of a little glimpse of my background. How I ended up getting to Leaders is kind of interesting. Graduated during COVID. So job market for what I was going into was really difficult to get into, not an easy track. So I ended up working for Chick-fil-A. I had been working for them in their nonprofit sector in college. So ended up, going in, working for a franchisee like a lot of my friends did whenever they kind of didn't know what to do. And I learned a lot about customer service, speed of service too, and different things like that allowed me to come in, work as a teller or a universal banker, as we call it. And it really allowed me to step in and not, work from scratch, which, we do a lot and people thrive in doing that, coming with no experience in financial services. But came in, did that, and I've really enjoyed, just learning and growing over the last 3+ years. Yeah.
And so you started, pretty young in your career here. And how did that impact how you handled your finances early on?
Yeah. So for younger people that are wanting to get into financial services or in, any kind of, business space, it's really good just to talk to people and listen to them because they're not just people that have gone through it themselves. They're walking with other people through it on a daily basis. So one thing that I've learned is just to really take advice from people that you trust. That's one of the things I did. One of the most eye-opening things, I actually went through our financial counselor certificate program, and it really opened my eyes to ways I need to be more proactive about my money and how I was growing my credit because at that time, all I had was a credit card with Leaders. That was the only thing I had. Going into it, I hadn't really had any kind of credit building, and I was, 25 at the time, and just working here kind of allowed me to see the products and services that we offer our members that are really low risk for them to get into. So just, different programs that we have allowed me to kind of learn more about ways to get my foot in the door and build my credit, even if I didn't do it at 18 and I did it at 25.
That's right.
That's great.
So for someone that's just graduating college or entering their first job, what would be your top financial tips for them?
I would say if they're really looking to grow their credit or they don't already have it established, looking at secure lending options is really big. At Leaders, we offer a secured credit card and a secured loan. Both are, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for you to do. And all of them are ways that you can immediately have access to those funds.
Can you describe to our listeners what secured credit or secured loan means? Not everyone knows.
Absolutely. So secured credit is where you're putting up the funds yourself to establish the score or to help raise the score if it's low. Secured credit card, it's $500 or $1,000 that you would put up for the life of the line of credit. Once we get it, improved, we can take it off, but that amount is what establishes the balance. So it's either $500 or $1,000 for the balance. Secured loan, you can do them for larger amounts, but the minimum is $1,000 to do it. I think, the easiest one I've done, because I've done it a lot with our members who are trying to grow their credit. If you do $1,000 for 24 months, your payments are under $44 a month. And that's a really simple thing for you to do if, you have nothing on your credit report, you're just trying to grow what you're doing. And really help you get your foot in the door. And a lot of people think, well, if I put this money up, it's going nowhere. Well, if you do the credit card for $500 or $1,000, you get that money back whenever the card, gets closed, and we can take you onto an unsecured card. Or with the loan for the secured loan, it allows you to immediately get that cash back in your pocket. I always like to use a auto loan as an example for it. You come in, we work an auto loan for you. We have to pay the dealership for us to purchase that vehicle, and the title itself is the collateral involved. Well, with a secured loan, your money is the collateral. So that money's on hold for the life of the loan while you're paying it off. And in that situation, we give a check to the dealership for them to go get the vehicle that they've just done with us. With a secured loan, we have to give that cash back somewhere. So for me, I put up $1,000, we secured it. But when the loan funded, I got that $1,000 back because we have to pay someone when we're doing a loan. So it was a really low risk way for me to kind of have something that's an installment loan on my credit report that allowed me to kind of have diversity on my trade lines for what I was looking at for my credit.
That's a great example. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that was the way I got started using credit, whether I was as knowledgeable as I am now or not. At that time, I wasn't. But being able to use a secured credit card was a way that I was able to establish credit history and credit score and making an on-time payment and having that reported. And so those are good ways and, like you said, ways that aren't risky for a lender or the borrower to establish credit or rebuild credit if they need that assistance. So that's helpful. A part of that, and a part of financial well-being is budgeting. And what's your approach when you're coaching people through that?
So definitely do what works best for you, but definitely have something. I think that if you're just, spending blindly, that works for you, but not everyone can afford to think like that.
You want to know where your money's going.
That's
you want to know where it's going.
Definitely. And I know that if you're starting out, kind of in this example that we're using, for me, I just have a note section on my phone. That note section, I put in, when I get my deposit, it's hitting my account. It may not necessarily have gone in yet. I know exactly what I'm getting paid. And then that's where I go through and do like my deductions. What am I having to pay this time around? What am I putting back into my savings? What am I doing so I am paying my bills? And then what do I have left over? That's the last thing on there. So it kind of lets me know like, hey, I need to tighten up, for the next 2 weeks, or hey, like I actually have a little bit more that I can spend or put back into savings than what I had previously.
Yeah. And what you're saying is you're knowing what your income is, what your expenses are. You're listing it out, and that's a part of budgeting is knowing what's coming in and what's going out. And so that's important. Whether it's on a notes app, you write it down, you use a mobile app or something. I mean, as long as you're trying to track it and understand what's coming in, what's going out, that's the really best way to do it.
Right.
Definitely.
You mentioned using your notes app, which I think that's great too, because it's kind of like using the old school register, like wherever you do it. But do you have any other tools that you would recommend that you use?
Yeah, so we actually have a budgeting function on our mobile app. My favorite thing to do is like whenever I have somebody coming in to, open up a membership, is I kind of get them set up on that. That's just a part of kind of the process when you're coming in. But I really tell them like, hey, here are all the different things that you can do on here. This is not just to view your balances or transfer money. You can connect other accounts on there. You can set up your travel notifications, but there's a variety of different things on there, even our credit score tool that allows them to know kind of where they're at. All those different things on there really allow our members to get an idea of where they're at or set up a budget on our budgeting tool, just so, they're not going in blind. And they also know that those are resources that are 100% free to them as members of the credit union.
It also has a cool feature where it'll do like debt payoff. Like if you connect to debts that you have at Leaders or elsewhere, you can simulate, I'm going to put an extra $50 on this, and it'll show me, it's going to be paid off this many months early. And so that's cool that you can have that too on money management, which any listener or member can find in our mobile app or online banking.
Yeah, and I even like our credit simulator. That's a really good one. So you can, see if I'm doing a personal loan or a credit card or an auto loan, I can put in the amount that I'm looking to do for it, and it simulates what could possibly happen to my credit whenever I take that out. So kind of gives you an idea like, hey, like I want to have, I want to get a home, I want to do a home loan, what that'll do to your credit whenever you take on that debt.
And then on the opposite side, how it will affect it if you're paying down debt or paying off of debt too. Yeah, that's good. So outside of budgeting, what are some other things that have helped you save on your monthly expenses?
I definitely think just being really vigilant of like what you're spending your money on has helped. I think, when you're younger, conveniences are really something that you look forward to. You're like, I am exhausted. I had, just a crazy day.
And when you're older.
And when you're older.
I think the older I get, the more I look for those conveniences.
Definitely. I mean, even, growing up, like if we had a crazy day, we're getting Mexican. Like that was just kind of like, just the go-to. But I think, if you do those earlier on and you're looking for those, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going and eating Mexican. Honestly, it's my favorite thing to do. We have tons of options here in Jackson.
That's true.
But I think, when you're looking at kind of the opportunities, I'm single, I'm in my 20s. So one of the biggest things that's helped me is like limiting myself the number of times that I can, get Chick-fil-A when I'm by myself. Because, it makes it a little bit harder because you're not like, oh, I can just swing through here. It's like, oh no, like, am I getting dinner with people? Like, is this worth me kind of going out of my way to, spend this extra money on something that I can, possibly, find a way to make something way less expensive that's really similar to it at home. Definitely grocery shopping is a huge thing as well. One thing that my mom did growing up that I've absolutely carried into adulthood is shopping at multiple places for the best thing. Like knowing where to, if I buy this in bulk, am I going to use it at Sam's? Like, if I go there and I get, this huge thing of things, will it expire before I'm actually through with it? Or, which places are the best places to get meat? Which are the best places to get produce? Knowing that you're getting the absolute best product at the best price is really huge. Because there's some places where their generic is fantastic. I think Kroger is one of them. Yes. Some of the products at Kroger that are they're like premium generic are like just incredible. And I just think looking for those things and finding them and knowing like, hey, like I may have gone to 4 different places to end up getting what I could have gotten all at once in, a pickup at this place. But you're allowing yourself, one, to have more options, and two, to save more money and get the best possible thing you can whenever you're deciding to, stay at home and cook at home. And also, looking at your subscriptions and seeing, have I used a streaming service in like the last 3 months? Is it worth me paying, $6 to $12 for, if not more for, each month has been really helpful. One of the things my parents did growing up was like, if I had, toys when I was really little, they're like, hey, have you used this, in the last 6 months or in the last year? And typically, if the answer wasn't that, it was like, hey, we need to do something with it because, it's just taking up space. I think, as a functioning adult, sometimes the things that we spend our money on take that same place. Yes. If this thing, isn't being used, why am I paying money for it each and every month? So really looking at kind of what you are actually using versus what you really want to keep. Because, for me, I may not use Peacock all the time, so I may
That's
need to
right.
unsubscribe whenever the Traders isn't on. But if, I'm really into an Apple show and it's going, that's the time to stay subscribed. So just really looking at kind of what you're spending your money on and if it's best to keep it.
That's true. I've heard a quote that says something about, does it bring you joy or is it resourceful or something like that? And if it doesn't, then maybe you need to let it go. So that's a good tip for that. So you work here at Leaders and you work with our members every day. So could you share a story with us about how you've helped one of our members along their financial journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So one really big example that sticks out in my mind, I had a member who was looking to possibly do a debt consolidation loan, was not looking to, use their home as collateral for it to do kind of like a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit without a first mortgage. I was just sitting down with her looking at things based on our guidelines that we go off of. She didn't necessarily meet them, but she had excellent income, had a great home that she could use for it. So it was one of those ones where I kind of had to think outside the box on how we could do it. And we were able to cut her interest on her current debts by 2.5 times what they were, because they were high interest debts by doing that.
Wow.
And we were also able to give her enough money to also do home renovations with it. Altogether, her payments monthly were half what they were going to be.
That's amazing.
So really just finding those opportunities to empower our members in seeing things that they may not necessarily see. We have a lot of times where people will come into the South Highland branch and this is at all of our branches even, where they will be looking for a product or service. And with us, having the knowledge that we do and the things that we've learned through all the various trainings we do, we are able to serve our members beyond what they're actually needing, and finding those opportunities to meet them exactly where they're at.
So speaking of the South Highland branch that you work at, Riley, we just recently built a new branch there that we're very proud of. So have you noticed an impact in the growth there since our new branch opened?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's really special about South Highland is it's still technically a part of Jackson because, it's still incorporated into it. But we are the furthest point south out of all of our branches here. And if anyone else needs our services that's located any further south, that's typically the branch that they come to because it's the closest. And since we've, grown our square footage as much as we have, we really have seen just an exponential growth in people that are like, no, it's time. Like, we are in a substantially bigger building. We have more staff, and it's allowed us to really reach our members where they're at and just find those opportunities to further our relationship with the people out south. One of the biggest things that I've seen with it is that we really have people that are using their voices. I mean, a lot of our members aren't necessarily located in Jackson that go there. They're located in Pinson and Henderson or in Selmer or other parts of West Tennessee that's further going down that direction towards Mississippi. And I think every single one of them wants to have Leaders in their backyard because they know that our brand is great and our people are good. And that is definitely something that they're seeking at this time.
Yeah, we're very proud to be able to serve those members.
For sure.
Yeah, coming to a backyard near you.
Yeah.
Coming soon. So you've shared a bunch of tips with us already, but we always like to ask, since this is a financial podcast, what is some of the best financial advice you've ever been given?
I think it is starting small and growing big. That's the biggest thing. And it's, not just in money. It's not just in, the way that you save for retirement, which is one of the biggest, most recent examples I've had. But it's, learning habits. It's developing yourself. It's growing in your relationships with other people. Just starting small and growing big is way better than doing nothing and trying to do something. I think that, when you take those little steps to do it, even if it's something that's hard, it makes it less painful. So definitely, specifically with, saving for retirement is a great example for young people. My parents told me whenever I got on here was the first time I ever had a job that had a retirement plan. And they're like, definitely do the match. That is the wisest thing. But if you put more in now, you won't think about how hard it is later on when you try to increase it. And, I have a little plan set up for how I increase the amount I'm saving for retirement each year. But just knowing like early on, I had a larger number. So it's making it way easier for me to budget because I'm not, trying to fit a larger number in there on the percentage that's coming out.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, we have one last question for you. Since this is the Pocket Change podcast, if you were to find some extra change in your pocket, what would you spend it on?
Easy answer is probably going to be Chick-fil-A. I know that's probably a common one y'all get. But definitely also, those Aldi steaks, they're grass-fed. They come in a 2-pack, so I know I can get multiple meals out of them. So those are probably the 2 that I would do if I had a little bit of pocket change.
Sounds great.
I was coming to your house for grilling out. Here we go.
All right. Well, thanks, Riley, for joining us today and sharing all the tips on, smart ways to save money and to invest and all of the things that you do out south. And we appreciate you working out there.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Pocket Change podcast.
Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and check out our full episodes on YouTube.
The Pocket Change podcast was brought to you by Leaders Credit Union,
where we power your passion and make lives better.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
So how much are those steaks?
So they have gone up, and it's literally devastating to me because, I used to throw one in my cart every time I went to Aldi. You can get 2 New York strips, and they're really good, especially if you're not grilling them, but you're pan-searing. Oh, I do a butter bath. I do all the things. Rosemary for sure.
Leaders is federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Learn more at leaderscu.com.